for Community Board 2. The meeting is called to order and the recording is beginning. I see the little red symbol. Okay, so it's being recorded for public access on the CB2 YouTube archive in accordance with the open meetings law. And we tend to conduct remote meetings with all the committee members' cameras on. And if you're a public attendee, you can leave your camera on, especially if you're given the floor to speak. Everyone, please keep the microphones muted when you're not speaking. And in order to keep the discussion and any voting in order, I'll let people know which topics are open for comment by committee members, board members, or the community. You can type in the chat panel. And we're so glad everyone came tonight. Can I call on the committee secretary to conduct the roll call so that the members can introduce themselves?
Sure. I'm Meredith Phillips Almeida. I'm the secretary of the committee and a member of the board. I'll just go in order. Ms. Thompson Manning.
Hi, Dorothea Thompson Manning, co-chair of the committee and a member of the board.
Nick.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Nick Ferreira, a board and committee member.
Oscar.
Hi, everyone. My name is Oscar Lockett. I'm a board and committee member.
And I want to point out to our guests from the DOE that Oscar is a student youth member, and when he goes off to college, we'll be recruiting other young people for CB2 and the committee. So for our educators out there who are responsible for the high schools, I'm glad you got a chance to meet Oscar, and we hope you'll help us find our next youth member.
Absolutely, that's awesome. Hi, Oscar.
Sam.
Hi, my name is Sam Johnson. I am a Community Board 2 member and a committee member.
Santia.
Hello, my name is Santia Felicia. I am a committee member and board member.
Welcome, everybody. Okay, the next item is the approval of the agenda. I would like to change the order to recommend that if the agenda is approved by consensus, I hope, yes, indicate that the agenda is approved. I would like to, after the presentation on the high schools, I'll ask the superintendents to stay, and we will have the part of the chairperson's report, which involves some collaboration with our health committee, because we wanted to talk about asthma in the public school student population. So I want to do that while the superintendents are around, and then we'll go back to the previous order. Is that okay with everyone? Excellent, thank you. The next item is the approval of the minutes. People had the chance to review the minutes. I've been a little late. I'll have a few corrections that I'll send to the board office, but are there any substantive changes to the minutes? Meredith always does a fabulous job. I could never do it, so thank you, Meredith.
Thank you, Meredith. Everyone appreciates you.
Yeah, absolutely. So are there any corrections? No, great. Okay. So I am very pleased for the first presentation of the evening to introduce 3 of the high school superintendents, including the executive superintendent, for Brooklyn North. That's a configuration of the DOE that includes many districts, including districts 13 and 15, where we, which is our geographic area. So I'm very delighted. I know that they have a very thoughtful presentation, as always, and then we will have the opportunity to ask questions. So without further ado, Karen Watts, who's the executive superintendent. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening to members of CB2 and to the Youth and Education Committee. I am pleased to be joining you this afternoon. Also, I would like to share greetings with other participants who are on the call. I'm here with Jess Ross. She's the high school superintendent of Brooklyn North, and Dr. Watsu, the deputy superintendent of the high schools in Brooklyn North. I am going to go ahead and share my screen again. Hold on. All right, so thank you so much for inviting us. What I want to quickly share is some updates of what's happening in Brooklyn North, and then Superintendent Ross will share specifically about the high schools. So as you said, Brooklyn North comprises districts 13 through 32, well, 13, 14, 15, 16, 19, 23, and 32, and the high schools in those districts. And I'm happy to be here giving you an update regarding those districts. So we operate at Brooklyn North with what we call Project 100, and that is to ensure that we impact the lives and education of 100% of our students in all of our schools. That's our goal, that's what we work towards. And we do so through what we call the Brooklyn North drivers of our work. And those include what you see here on this slide, CSS, or the Comprehensive School Support Strategy, and that ensures that every school gets the support it needs based on its needs from the borough office. Every district has a borough office district team of about 20 members, cross-functional team members from the borough office and the superintendent's team that work together to support all of the schools within a particular district. And schools receive cycles of support depending upon the needs of the schools. The next driver is the instructional leadership framework, and this takes care of the instructional programs in our schools. And that includes everything from ensuring we have digital and culturally responsive curriculum in every subject area in our schools. It also addresses the pedagogy, or the way in which the curriculum is delivered in lessons every day to students. It also includes the assessments that are used to determine if students are meeting the standards that the curriculum is based on. And
Karen?
it also, yes.
Karen, I'm sorry, are your slides supposed to be advancing? Because they're not.
No, it's not.
No, okay.
I'm just going to this slide
I
two.
apologize. I
Yes.
just wanted to make sure you weren't advancing because they're not moving. No problem.
Oh, all right. Yes, and so I'm talking about the 7 drivers at the bottom of this slide. So we're at ILF. And so ILF
We're not seeing the slide though. We're just seeing the Brooklyn North State of the Borough. So I
the
think
slides are not advancing. Oh.
They're not advancing. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
It's advancing on my end here. Oh. You're not seeing Project 100?
No.
No?
We're still looking at slide 1. If you could either advance them manually by clicking on slide 2 in the left column, or you could click in the upper left, you could click from beginning, which will play them. Okay, now we're looking at slide 2. That actually might be the best way to go.
Are you able to see slide 2 now? Yes?
Correct. We're looking at slide 2.
We are,
Okay,
but
great.
it's not as a slideshow, just so you're aware. We're seeing the slide and then the left column as well.
Oh my.
That's okay, Ms. Watts. That just means that you'll just have to click on the number of the slide when you want to advance manually. It's just not playing
Okay.
automatically. That's all.
Yeah, it's not playing, but I have slideshow set and I'm pressing play from the beginning. So for
That's
some
okay. When
reason,
you want to advance to the next slide, just go ahead and click on number 3.
okay.
Okay.
All right. So are you seeing 2 now? Yeah. All right. So I'll just leave it here as this. So yes, so at the bottom are the 7 drivers, the CSS that I spoke about, the ILF, that includes the curriculum, the pedagogy, the assessments, and the professional learning that our teachers and other school-based staff members receive from the BCO district team in order to be able to effectively implement the curriculum and lessons with our students. Then the third driver is the supportive environment framework driver. And this one includes everything from the safety, the physical safety of the school. It ensures a welcoming and safe environment, inclusive environment for all of our students. It also includes restorative practices that our schools engage in. It includes social emotional learning and relationship building, as well as promoting student voice in our schools and mental health and physical health. So all of those pieces fall under the supportive environment framework. Then the fourth driver is what we call eSTEM, or equity through STEM education. And we ensure that by ensuring strong science and math instruction all the way from 3K to the 12th grade. That represents the S&M. And then, of course, ensuring opportunities for engineering, computer science, and the use of tech tools in instruction. That really became paramount during remote learning and during the pandemic. We also have a focus on early childhood education, ensuring that our students are all reading well on grade level by the end of the 2nd grade. And we also have a focus on family and community empowerment, ensuring that all of the structures that are in place at the school level and the district level that enhance the empowerment of parents, sharing of information with parents, and the opportunity for parents to have input in decisions that are made at the school level and at the district level are strengthened and are working as expected. And then the last driver is to ensure that we're developing leaders all the way throughout all levels of the borough office, employees, from teacher leadership to assistant principals to principals, to deputy superintendents, to superintendents and executive superintendent. At all levels, we're developing leadership. And this also includes working closely with our student leaders, with our student governments in every one of our schools, and working closely with our parent leaders as well. So at Brooklyn North, we embrace hope, love, and science and expect that every employee in our schools and offices live up to these ideals. Brooklyn North leadership stands with the Asian American and Pacific Islander community, the AAPI community, and our AAPI educators, students, and families in denouncing anti-Asian racism, bias, and xenophobia in all forms. We do have a lot of anti-racism resources on our Brooklyn North website that I would like to invite you to visit. And there are full statements there from the Brooklyn North leadership denouncing all forms of racism, including anti-Black racism as well. So here are our chancellor's priorities. Last December, the former Chancellor Carranza and Mayor de Blasio announced a 6-point plan called the 2021 Student Achievement Plan. And we are getting ready to implement that plan for the 21-22 school year. And that will inform ensuring that we know our students well and to get a baseline of the academic and social and emotional needs of our students going into the 21-22 school year. We're also ensuring high quality digital and culturally responsive and sustaining curriculum in every school for every subject and for every grade level. We're launching a one-stop digital learning hub similar to the Google Classroom that students have been using during the pandemic. And this hub will have a lot of the learning resources for students and teaching resources for teachers and resources for leaders as well. Of course, we are going to continue our work around professional development to ensure that our teachers and leaders have the capacity to lead our system into the 21-22 school year post-pandemic, ensuring that we take all of the innovations that and silver linings that may have come from the pandemic into a new vision for the Department of Education. We're also expanding Parent University, which is an opportunity for parents to engage in courses so that they can continue to help their children learn. And during the pandemic, parents have really stepped up to really be partners with teachers in supporting their children's education. And the sixth point of the 2021 Student Achievement Plan is to ensure that we're confronting the trauma and mental health crisis faced by our students. And we're going to also do that for the employees who will be coming back to physical buildings in the new school year. So we'll ensure that we have trauma-informed care for both the adults and students. And last week, we have a new chancellor who started, Chancellor Ross Porter, Misha Ross Porter, and her priorities were very easy to work with because they include opening the high schools, which occurred on Monday of this week, and opening up for summer school, a summer school like no other, where students can hopefully get back to recreation as well as to getting back into buildings so that they can form those connections with each other that they may not have been able to do when they were remote. And then, of course, opening for the 21-22 school year. So those are the current priorities that we're working on. And of course, with all of our school buildings open now, elementary, middle, and high schools, we're continuing to have mandatory testing of 20% of students and staff every week in each school. And we have to ensure that we have a consent form on file for each student and staff member. And of course, health and safety comes first. So if there are cases of positive cases in any of our schools, we take appropriate action given whether there were one or two cases, whether they're in the same class or different classrooms and so on, and then appropriate action is taken. I just want to say with respect to the 10-day closures and so forth, that these are under consideration, and as the city gets information, more information will be shared about whether this particular policy of building safety will be updated. So we had our high schools returned on Monday, March 22nd. Only blended students have returned, and there is now a new opt-in period that started today and will end on April 7th for families from elementary, middle, and high school to opt in to blended learning, and decisions will be made as to when additional students can return into the physical buildings, starting first with Thanks. PSAL is starting back up, and with mid-risk sports such as badminton, baseball, gymnastics. In April, early April, high risk to begin in mid-April, and that those will include basketball, football, etc. There will be a push to have the sports take place outside as much as possible to minimize risk. Gifted and talented admissions have been a little different this year in that there is no test. However, children born in 2016 and live in New York City still participate in gifted and talented admissions. Instead of the test, families and educators will help identify students for accelerated learning. Families can submit a form to express interest in kindergarten G&T by April 9th. And there are 3 ways in which families can do so. The My Schools NYC Family Welcome Center by phone. And then in mid-May, all families who submitted an interest form will be notified whether or not their child is eligible to be considered for G&T for the 21-22 school year. At this time, statewide summative assessment calendar is still in effect. The New York State Education Department is still awaiting the results of a waiver request from the U.S. Department of Education on whether these exams will go forward. So this is the current information here. So we're still waiting to hear. With the New York State grades 3 through 8 English Language Arts exam scheduled for April 20th and the 21st, and the math grades 3 through 8 for May 4th and 5th. What we have done this year is to ensure that all families, all students have a New York City Schools account, a NYXA account. Parents, these accounts let parents access important information about their child's education that include everything from grades to report cards, attendance history, test scores, etc. And it's the only way that parents can vote in the 2021 Education Council elections. So we're working very closely with all families. Our parent coordinators are supporting families and ensuring they have access to these accounts. And here is the information regarding the citywide Community Education Council elections. All seats are up for re-election. The term is 2 years. The pool of eligible voters has expanded from 5,400 to more than 1 million voters, in that all parents can now participate. There is 1 voter per child, but it's possible to be eligible for more than 1 council for each child. So if the child has an IEP or the child is an English language learner, it expands eligibility. And there are candidate forums taking place this month and next month, and voting will take place May 1 through the 11th. And the entire election process is being conducted virtually. So these are some upcoming opportunities for families in Brooklyn North. We have a Brooklyn North implicit bias awareness for families, and that's next Wednesday, next Tuesday, actually, March 30th. And we are providing district-based school leadership team training regarding bylaws. Some already took place, some still to take place with districts 13 and 15 on tomorrow, 25th, and high school on April 5th. And of course, here's the information regarding Parent University that I spoke about previously. And here are some other ways to get information, especially for family and community, and more information on the health screening form. And of course, our Brooklyn North website address is here. Before I end, I just want to say that we have programming on One Brooklyn TV. It takes place on Spectrum Channel 1993, Optimum Channel 951, and Verizon 47 here in Brooklyn in partnership with Brick Media Arts. And we share information about the wonderful work taking place in Brooklyn North and Brooklyn South schools. And we also share instructional programming, information for families, etc. And here is my contact information, kwatts@schools.nyc.gov. Thank you. Turning it over to you, Superintendent Ross.
Thank you, Executive Superintendent Watts.
Did you want me to go right in, or did you want to do questions for ES Watts first? I could start right away. But...
Yeah, why don't you start, and then after we hear all the presentations, some of our members might have questions.
Okay, great. So I'm going to share. I'm going to go from the beginning. Let's hope that this works. Are you guys seeing?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. So I am here with my Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Watu, and you have to forgive me. I need to shut my door because my family is. Everyone decided to come downstairs in the office today. I'm here with Deputy Dr. Watu, and we are extremely excited to share with you what's happening in Brooklyn North High Schools. So in Brooklyn North, we have, like ES Watts said, we serve 13, 14, 15, 16, 19, 23, 32 high schools. And I'm going to make sure that you are getting the next slide. So this is not moving. So why am I not moving? Okay. I didn't do
It's
that.
going. It's a little bit
It's
delayed.
going. Okay, it just takes time.
Yeah.
Okay. So here are our district contacts. We have our family leadership coordinator and our family support coordinator. These are individuals that work with our parents, that liaise between the schools and parents and the parent coordinators. They take on the 311 calls, any information. They work on our website. They ensure that all the information goes to parents. They plan the parent events. And so if there are any issues or concerns, here is their contact. This is how you would get to the parent information with Greg and Corinne. It's really slow. Why will it go? How do I move it if I want to move it so we don't have to wait this long?
Try the navigation bar in the bottom. When you hover over it, there's the two arrows. Try those. And next one over. Yeah. See if it's faster. I think that's a little bit faster.
You know what? You would think that we haven't been doing this for a year. Sorry, everybody. It's not like we've been, this is not our first time, but it seems like it, right? All right. So here are the districts and the schools. We are, we've listed all of them because we just wanted to be transparent. We will go down to data in the schools that we particularly serve within CB2. And I'm just going to keep going. Okay, so this is the part where we wanted to share with you that's really important to us. So under Brooklyn North High Schools, we operate under the pedagogy of critical love. And it's in line to ES Watts's Love, Hope, and Science. So we are promoting success for all of our students. We are promoting success for our teachers and staff, and we are promoting success for our principals. The goal is teaching the whole child with a growth mindset. And the critical piece is around us supporting our young people, not only academically, but socially and emotionally. So we want to ensure that the schools are looking at what resources and have access that are advancing equity across all of our schools. So everybody has an opportunity to succeed, and we meet them at their needs. We begin all of our meetings, we begin all of our events with love in our hearts. So we always share a specific quote. This is one of my favorite ones. And so it is in line to the experience of knowing we always belong. So we want to ensure that all of our high schools have an inclusive environment where everybody who walks through that door feels like they belong. These are our goals. So for time wise, we'll share the presentation with everybody here. But again, our main goal is about critical love, equity, and social justice, ensuring that all work in the superintendency is accomplished through patience, understanding, flexibility, with critical love, equity, and social justice. We talk about modeling under E.S. Watts's 100%. She has the 100% project, which is us, that we graduate 100% of our students, 100% college and career ready, as well as 100% persistent that can stay in college and graduate from college. And then, of course, our fourth goal, most important for us, is maximizing transparent communication by providing meaningful feedback and digital accessibility of all resources, and creating a space for voice and agency that promotes continuous improvement through empowering partnerships with community stakeholders, families, and students. We listed some of our priorities and the work that's happening in our priorities. So if you see in our priorities, we talk about excellence in academic language, digital citizenship. I don't know if mine is blocked, but digital citizenship through schools, implementation of high quality blended and remote learning that is synchronous and asynchronous. Obviously, we adapted everything since COVID-19, but these are some of our partners, some of the work that we're really truly proud of. We work with Dr. Caitlin Tucker, a lot of the work that does the blended learning. Dr. Goldie Muhammad, who is a huge partner in our work. We've been working with her for many years. She's the author of Cultivating Genius. She does a monthly series with teachers, with principals, and leads our CRE leadership training. We work with, we've all been trained, our principals, my staff, on Glenn Singleton's Courageous Conversation, and we continue the work with Glenn Singleton's Courageous Conversation as we do book studies with our principals. So again, this is a lot of the work that we're doing around social justice, ensuring that we're educating our children to create anti-racist schools, ensuring that we have anti-racist leaders, and that in the building, and we believe this is important, obviously, because students need to be heard, they need to be seen, and they need to feel love and respect so that they can learn. And there's an open feeling for them. So when they're in the classroom, they're excited. We talk about joy in our classes. It's very important that the teachers create lessons that are culturally relevant, but also demonstrate joy. A lot of times we'll ask the teachers, do you experience joy when you're teaching this class? Is it fun? Are you enjoying it? And so now, are your students enjoying it? And how are you relating what's happening in the world to the curriculum and what your lessons are doing? And that's a lot of the work that we're doing with Dr. Goldie Muhammad. We are proud to announce the New York Against Gun Violence. We are partnering with them. It's unfortunate we're seeing an increase of gun violence in our communities, and we are putting on a summit. But in that, the New York Against Gun Violence is going into campus schools, working directly with students around this. And this work started about a month ago. Big piece of the work that we're doing is our SUNY math tutors that are placed in our schools. and they are working towards post-secondary planning. So we work again with our 100%. So it's 100% college, 100% graduation, and that our students then graduate college and career ready. But then the post-secondary planning, that they're 100% persistent. So those who are going to college remain in college. And we support with funding for students to get Pell Grants and different scholarships all around, and then the CTE work. So it's college and career planning. Here are our District 13 schools. These are the schools that we serve in 13 and 15. And I believe we're going to get into the data part now, Dr. Tu, right? You're going to, or is that the
We
next
have a
slide?
bit more with the Equity Rigor Project, if you want to talk about that. And
Okay, sure. So here's the work that I was talking about, critical love, because this is what we, everything is built upon, right? So this is extremely important for us now in the wake of what's happening in the world today. We want to ensure that we are implementing curriculum that supports the history of all of our students. And we decided that that work needed to really be trained with our teachers, with our lead teachers, our APs, and our principals. So we, all of us are working on the book study, Cultivating Genius. And she is, Dr. Muhammad, an incredible woman who is actually putting together developing a culturally responsive units and lessons that will be developed by teachers. And we have them on our website, but we will have a book at the end that we will share for coming years and developing capacity. Another very, very important piece of the work that we do at Brooklyn North is My Brother's Keeper, My Sister's Keeper. We are proud to say that we have 47 chapters in our schools where we're supporting our young men of color and our young women of color. We recognize that these are students that unfortunately previously from data have not done as well as our other subgroups. So we've proudly moved our graduating of young men of color and women of color, Black and brown students have increased in our graduation rate. And we find that it's a direct correlation to the intense work we're doing around My Brother's Keeper and My Sister's Keeper. We hold numerous community events. These are just some of them that we wanted to share with you, but we consistently ensure that we are lifting voices, our students. Most of our events are student-led, adult-supported. We also 3 times a year do a State of the District where we meet with the community, present a similar presentation like this, and then take Q&A with our parents and families. We did a Black Excellence Month, we did a Women's History Month, and we'll continue to support this work, not just through the month that it's designated, but throughout the entire year. We are continuing to celebrate. We've just finished. We celebrated women. And so we asked the women in our superintendency and outside, E.S. Watts actually presented yesterday, to share their story and talk about a previous woman in history that maybe have inspired them, or just honoring those women and where we are today. We are beginning in honor of the recognition of the, sorry, let me just make sure, the Holocaust Remembrance Day. I want to make sure, April 8th. We're doing the Mitzvah Project, where we are putting together a watch party, and then there'll be Q&A. And so we're really proud of this work, and want to ensure that we, again, honor all different cultures, and that folks are seeing everything we can do to lift the voices of all that are in our schools. MBK, MSK Parents Living with a Purpose. This is goes to all of our students, but it was something that we started with MBK and then made it bigger. We do parent workshops with retired Lieutenant Colonel Consuela Kickbush. If you have not seen her, she is absolutely incredible. There is never a dry eye in the audience. She is moving, and we've been working with her a few years, and the support with our parents. We have another event March 25th and April 15th, so we will make sure we share with you if you are interested. But she's doing some great work with our parents as partners, and ensuring that we're supporting our parents during the pandemic and then after. And she's also training our parent coordinators to be successful family leadership presenters, and making sure that each school has like a family leadership institute where we support our parents.
And then
Dr. Tu?
and pick it up and sort of make the connection for us from the effort Superintendent Ross presented, the training for our leaders, our teachers, the support for our students and families. So immediately it translates into our graduation rate. So in the past, this chart shows you year-to-year comparison, starting from 2018 and ending last year. So Janice, can you shift back just a little bit?
Sure.
To the previous slide?
Yep, sorry.
No worries. I wanted to highlight the fact that we have increased graduation rate across our schools. We have a dedicated program called Operation Graduation, which we take schools with less than 80% graduation rate. So our baseline is fairly high. We expect that all of our students are graduating, aligned with the 100-100 goal, and we take 80 as our baseline. With the work of Operation Graduation, we provide not only academic support to our schools, we look at data. We support our schools in creating systems and structures to track their data, provide targeted interventions for students. Across all subgroups, our Black, Brown, Asian, English language learner, student with disability, student with high economic need index, they all increase in the past 3 years. We also want to call out that we went from 25 schools to 34 with over 80% graduation rate, and saw an increase in schools with 100% graduation rate. So the next couple of slides will focus on Community Board 2 schools. So Janice, the next one is, I believe, District 13. Same data focusing for District 13 schools, and we have 8 of them. Here we saw a slight dip in the Hispanic and white subgroups, a huge increase, 2-digit increase in English language learners. So that was the heavy focus for many of our schools. And then the following slide is for District 15. So 7 of our schools in District 15. Here similarly, we had some gains and small dip in other areas. The next slide, we are taking you to attendance, and as you may have heard from our chancellor, is every child, every day. That's our mantra. We have weekly attendance meeting with school teams, and other than September when it started, District 13 held fairly consistent 88% daily student attendance. And for District 15 on the next slide, you will see a similar trend, fairly consistent in mid-80s. This is yet another important data point for us, and that is making sure that all of our students with IEPs are receiving full services. And as you may know, the City Council receives the data 3 times a year. This graph here calls out the intense work our schools have focused to make sure they have reprogrammed and programmed and reprogrammed, looking at each and every child's IEP to make sure that they are receiving full service. We went from 50% to 76% in 3 months. So the first time we pulled the data in December until, in fact, yesterday we pulled it again, we saw a 26% jump. Specifically 24 for District 13 and 38% for District 15 schools. The next two slides give you some highlights. This is coming straight out of our Urban Assembly School for Music and Art. You will probably see now we focus heavily on student voice, building up community, and UAMA had what they call the Throwback Fun Night, where they bring both students and teachers and guess the baby picture, right? What a fun way to see who we are when we were young. And then for District 15 schools on the next slide, a selection of Black History Month celebration. We have also open mic at Sunset Park. This is inviting the community member to share their experiences and celebrating and uplifting our communities. And that brings us towards the end. Superintendent Ross, I'm going to throw it back to you because I know you like bell hooks.
So there can be no love without justice. And this is basically, again, it wraps up everything that we're doing in Brooklyn North around the pedagogy of critical love. It's around criticality, where we're calling for teachers and students to understand the ideologies and perspectives of the marginalized communities and their ways of knowing and experiencing the world. And so we, for lack of a better phrase, it is our job to ensure that we're working to make the world a better place. And we have the ability to do that with our young people and lifting their voices and ensuring that the curriculum is historical and they're getting all that they should know so they can go out there and, help move us in the right direction. And so that is our presentation. I'm going to start with something that I should have said in the beginning, which was good evening. And my name is Superintendent Janice Ross. And it's a pleasure and honor to be here with CV2, but I got so excited, I just jumped into my presentation. So forgive me, but it is an honor really to be here and be able to share the work that we're doing under the leadership of E.S. Watts and Brooklyn High School. So on behalf of Dr. Deputy Wattu, we appreciate it and here for questions.
Thank you very much for the extensive information that was shared. I hope you can send your PowerPoint deck to the office so that we can read it more. It was a lot of information to absorb. We are running a little late in our agenda time, so I'm just going to ask maybe for 2 questions from members of the committee. Unfortunately, I can't give time to members of the public because we have other items on the agenda tonight. So, Taya, can you see the whole group? Which of our members have a question? Members of our committee only.
Eric Sproul had a hand up earlier, and I also wanted to welcome Superintendent Samuels, who was on during. Oh, did we just lose him?
I think we did.
There he is. I only saw Eric Sproul's hand earlier.
Okay. Mr. Sproul, do you have a question for one of the superintendents?
Oh, Mr. Sproul, unfortunately, you're unmuted, but we're not able to hear your audio. Is the microphone button on your computer?
Headphones are plugged in. No.
No. Sometimes if you're on a laptop, if you look at the very top row of keys, you'll see a function button that has a microphone. Just make sure that that button is depressed. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Joel. Feel free to type in the chat box.
He said he doesn't have anything to say. I think I read his lips pretty well.
Okay.
So you say you have
Can you
nothing
put
to
something
say?
in the chat, maybe? Mr. Sproul, can you put something in the chat?
He says he's all good. Carry on.
Okay. Good to see you, Mr. Sproul. Okay. Does anyone else from our committee have a question for one of the superintendents? So I think what we'll do is we will read the PowerPoints, the data, and then maybe hopefully invite you back for a richer or a discussion. I wanted to, is Mr. Smith here now? Can you see?
Ma'am.
Yeah, Mr. Smith is the Chair of the Health, Environment, and Social Service Committee, and he wanted to speak briefly about childhood asthma because we have a few superintendents here, including Superintendent Samuels from District 13, to see where we're at with asthma and what we can collaborate on together. Mr. Smith?
Sure. Thank you very much, Betty, and thank you to the members of the Youth Education and Cultural Affairs Committee. I'm very honored to be here, and as well as Nicole McKnight from our committee is here as well too, which really shows that we're committed to the idea of promoting this issue with education. The Health, Environment, and Social Services Committee, for those of you who don't know, is focused on issues of health in addition to issues of environment, sanitation. We do liquor licenses, we do a few other things. But health is such a primary focus. And in the course of our duties, we've gotten reports from the New York City Department of Health about every 2 or 3 years about the big issues that are coming up in our community. And one of the biggest issues that keeps coming up in this area is childhood asthma. And while we are not experts in education, we felt that it was appropriate to invite a speaker to come to our committee last December. So we got Mr. Reed Caldwell from NYU Langone to come in. And we've learned basically from the different health department presentations, some really shocking facts, such as in our area, as of the 2015 profile, the asthma and hospitalization rate among children ages 5 to 14 in Fort Greene and Brooklyn Heights is 8 times the rate that it is in Borough Park. I guess by where we're located, we have a very high rate of this, but Dr. Caldwell was the expert. And when we talked with him about his practice, he gave a lot of practical tips and helpful advice. Being an asthmatic person himself certainly helped. But one of the questions that came in from a community board member was whether he might be willing to partner with District 13 and 15 to spread education and awareness about childhood asthma and the steps that people can take, you know, generally in your everyday life, with your home or in your daily activities, to make sure that you're protecting yourself and you know, taking the steps to ensure better health in this area. So one of our goals as a committee was to reach out to the youth committee and see if we can all work together to maybe bring Dr. Caldwell, who indicated he's willing and really happy to partner with educational facilities, to District 13 and 15 to spread education and awareness about the asthma risks and the services that he can provide from NYU Langone. So that's kind of why I'm here. Happy to answer any questions about my committee or about the idea, but we don't really have a timing component, you know, of when to do this. But I think the purpose of bringing it to this committee is really to see if the committee's interested in supporting the issue, and if we all want to work together, it'd be great. But you know, certainly any feedback from the districts would be great. And Nicole, is there anything you would want to add? I greatly value your contributions.
No, Brandon.
Well, thank
I
you
unmuted
anyway.
myself. Brandon, I think you did a great job in covering our request, and I have nothing further to add.
No, thank you.
Is Superintendent Samuels back? Because he has the little ones. You were, you know, the elementary and middle school. You were talking about ages 5 to 14.
Hi, everyone. Good night. I am here. I'm happy to partner. I put it in the chat. I put my email. Reach out, Brandon, and we can get the ball rolling.
What do you think involvement would look like? Because we don't want to spin a lot of wheels in our committee if there are certain, you know, DOE programs that you might have already, or things that you're already working on.
And we have some, and that's the issue that I would like to kind of talk some more about, because then we'll be able to talk to the schools where we see some where we see some opportunities to partner. So I think we can get deeper into that conversation when Brandon talks.
Okay, so again, would it be a joint committee meeting that you would bring some
I
folks
think,
into? Or
no,
what would it look like?
I would prefer if we have a conversation with folks from this community, not necessarily in this venue, to kind of structure that and structure what this partnership could look like.
And I would like to add that we can also have Superintendent Anita Scott partner with Superintendent Samuels and have a joint, maybe a wellness session for the families of District 13 and 15 in collaboration with CB2, something to that effect.
Mm-hmm. As some of you know, I did work in the DOE for a bunch of years, and a while ago there was an asthma initiative. It was a pilot at the time I was involved, and I don't know if that got spread out to all the districts and all the schools. It focused mostly on fourth grade students. It included reading and recognizing different symptoms and so on. So it was more of an individual approach with children, and you're talking about a community approach. So I wonder if they do have this program now in the elementaries.
I know from me, I haven't necessarily heard as much about that program, but we definitely have an issue with asthma in our schools, and now more than ever when we have variants and issues with comorbidities and issues with underlying illnesses and disproportionate impacts on our communities. I think this is something that we should be talking about.
Okay, so are there any questions from my committee about what this would look like, or how, or any questions to the superintendent so that we can, as Superintendent Samuel say, talk more and have a deeper conversation to discuss this? Anyone from my committee? Taya, do you see anybody? I don't see anybody with questions. Okay, so we will continue this conversation. Thank you, Brandon and Nicole, for reaching out to us and proposing a collaboration. And thank you to our DOE partners as always. Okay, so
thank you all, and thank you to the superintendents, and thank you to the committee. Greatly appreciate it. Looking forward to working with you.
Same here. Thank you.
Okay,
Good night.
so now on our agenda, we have the Teens for Food Justice. The superintendents are welcome. Please stay if you have the time. I think that they are in at least one of the schools in District 13. They're a very exciting program. We had wanted to visit, but then of course we're little boxes on the Zoom. We're not visiting programs at this point, but I have in the past in my own work. So is our person here from Teens for Food Justice?
Yes, hey there. Thank you, Community Board 2, for having me and Teens for Food Justice on tonight. My name is Renee Cairns. I'm the Advocacy and Community Engagement Manager with TFFJ. And just want to give y'all a bit of an update as to what we're up to, how it relates to Community Board 2, and leave some time for any questions if there are any. So I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. All right, we can see the screen. Okay, great. So thank you to the committee for inviting us here tonight. Like I said, my name is Renee Cairns. I started with Teens for Food Justice right before the pandemic hit, so I have sort of an interesting perspective on our programs. But Here at TFFJ, for those of you who may be less familiar with our work, we are a 501c3 nonprofit galvanizing a youth-led food justice movement, working to ensure that all New Yorkers have access to fresh, healthy food and to end the cycle of health complications dramatically and unequally impacting low-income New Yorkers of color. We work within Title I middle and high schools, training students to maintain indoor hydroponic farms that grow thousands of pounds of produce each year that are then served at school lunch in the cafeteria, as well as distributed to surrounding communities through youth-led food distributions. Our farms also act as hands-on learning laboratories for curricular day STEM classes, as well as a meeting space for our after-school programs, during which students are equipped with the skills to become the next generation of food justice advocates, leaders, and change makers. We work at the Urban Assembly Unison School. And these are some just sort of spotlight photos of our farm there. These are pre-COVID, of course, but the farm at the Urban Assembly Unison School was one of our first farms and one of our longest standing programs. So a longtime partner for us at TFFJ. Due to COVID, when the schools closed in March of last year, we quickly had to shut down all of our farms. In addition to the Urban Assembly Unison School farm, we also have farms. We have a farm in the Bronx, we have a farm in Manhattan, a farm in Brownsville, and our farm at the Urban Assembly Unison School. So we had to shut down all of our farms. We were able to work with our farmer educators and our school partners to harvest everything that was actively being grown and then donate that produce immediately through community partners. And as we shifted online and remote, we quickly pivoted towards working as a convener between local commercial hydroponic growers who we have relationships with, to be a convener of their excess produce or anything that they have able to donate, and our partner communities. So between March and August of 2020, we facilitated the weekly supply of about 600 pounds of fresh produce to our school partner communities. And in the meantime, and continuing to date, we have launched weekly and bi-weekly food distributions in 4 of our school partner communities, which benefit up to 1,000 New York households each week. So again, it's been said very much, COVID certainly has underscored longstanding historical realities and, in our city, in our country, around food insecurity, the role that racism has to play in health disparities. So we've taken, being in this convener role to be a very important way for TFFJ to pivot at this time. So to date, we've facilitated the distribution of nearly 12,000 fresh produce bags to New Yorkers across 4 boroughs. We are not yet in Staten Island, but hopefully one day. And in addition, with some food distribution pivots, we have also launched Greens and Things Brooklyn. This is more in our Brownsville and East New York communities. However, love to just share a little bit more about the program as there might be some follow-up discussions that we can have. But we launched Greens and Things Brooklyn. It's a partnership with Collective Fair, Brooklyn Communities Collaborative, the New York State Health Foundation, and BMS, Brownsville Family and Multi-Services. And Greens and Things is an affordable grocery bag program that supplies fresh, locally and regionally sourced produce, as well as pantry staples to folks in Brownsville and East New York. We are working really closely with our friends at Collective Fair to operate this program, and we offer free delivery throughout Brownsville and East New York, and are hoping to ramp the program up to serving 175 individuals or families each week through this program. And then specifically in Brooklyn Community District 2, we have supported the Urban Assembly Unison School with their spring care package program. That was actually this week. We secured a donation of nearly 2,000 pounds of fresh produce that was locally and regionally sourced, as well as 50 cases of an electrolyte drink from the folks at Roar. And we also sent home free hydroponic grow kits for all of Unison's 7th graders, and there's more on that to come. So that's sort of our food distribution. In more typical times, like I said, we would be running food distributions in collaboration with our students at each of our partner school sites. And in addition, we've pivoted in terms of the curricular day programming options. We've put together grow kits. You can see in the image at the top right. The idea is that these grow kits, are really accessible and simple for students and potentially something that they could replicate through items they might have at home. But we've supplied all of the materials to make these kits and sent them to students across all of the boroughs and in partnership, or all of the boroughs that we work with, and in partnership with our schools and teachers. So TFFJ staff also co-teach lessons to assemble the grow kits, and that will be happening at the Urban Assembly Unison School this spring. So just a way for us to provide a small scale at home hydroponic growing experience while students are either learning remotely or doing blended learning, to keep the connection with the hydroponic farming systems. In addition, we worked for much time over the course of the pandemic to adapt our after-school program to a remote learning format. So in February of 2021, we launched our Food Justice and Advocacy after-school program that we're calling the Food Justice Collective. We are offering this for free for all New York City middle and high school students. During this program, small cohorts of students meet weekly to discuss and explore food justice, the issues that are facing their communities, the issues that they care about most, as we also equip them with advocacy skills to propose and garner support for student design solutions. So we're in the midst of that program right now. Tomorrow we will wrap up the 5th week, and we're hoping that by the end of the spring, we will have our different cohorts of students all meet together, be able to share out their projects, their food justice projects, both to one another as well as community members and community leaders. And just a few quick things looking ahead, we fully plan to reopen the farm at Urban Assembly Unison School by the fall of 2020, so long as the pandemic continues to abate a bit, or that we have safety protocols in place. And we will resume all of our on-site programming in collaboration with our teachers and with our after-school program, as well as our food distribution efforts. And another exciting thing happening at the Urban Assembly Unison School in CD2 is that there is a greenhouse construction project that is planned in the works that is hoping to be completed in the coming year. So it's a big project and will really be an opportunity for students to connect the hydroponic growing with some other mediums and other forms of food production, as well as applying that to food justice work and advocacy work. And if you want to get in touch with me or anyone else at TFFJ, you can certainly shoot me an email or give me a call. We'd love to hear from many of you, start making plans for what things might look like as we're able to be back in schools, and really appreciate you all for inviting me and Teens for Food Justice to present tonight.
Thank you so much. Hello?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So, the pictures of the food look so delicious. It's like we just wanted to grab it from these little Zoom squares. So I'd like to invite members of my committee to ask our presenter any questions. Do you see anyone, Taya? No. Okay, so my question would be, each year our committee and all the committees on the board are asked to present a statement of district needs and ideas for programs, expense budget, etc. from the city. What in this work is scalable, or you could help us think of a way to include this in some way? Because as we know, the city is facing, continues to face the issues of food insecurity. There's a new 10-year food plan that's being promulgated through the city. So we'd like your ideas about how to connect it to our work and our advocacy through the committee and the board.
Yeah, that's a really great question. You know, like one thing that immediately comes to mind is, as you all may know, the city just received a large grant for partnering with folks on the ground that run food box programs, so that food boxes, which under the typical food box program are offered for $14 typically, still at a affordable, reduced price, relatively speaking. However, this grant will allow for food box programs or for food boxes that are purchased with SNAP benefits to be at a 50% discount. So folks that are utilizing SNAP to purchase these food boxes, which are pre-packaged bags of fresh produce, at a price point of $7 as opposed to the $14. So I would say that, you know, we are definitely, you know, typically we run a food box program. Since we work at Urban Assembly Unison and it being a middle school, sometimes it's not as consistent there for us typically when we're operating in person. However, I think food box programs, I'm sure there are many in the district. So that's something that I know from our discussions, you know, the grant with the city just received this grant, so they are, I think, looking for partners. So that's one thing that comes to my mind. Within this grant also is a dollar for dollar match of when you use SNAP. Typically, if you spend $5 in SNAP at a farmer's market or a food box, you could get a $2 health buck, which is, you know, if you're not familiar with the program, it's basically just a $2 coupon that you can use off your next purchase. And within this grant, it also allows for a dollar for dollar match rather than, you know, to spend $5, get $2 back. You spend $2, you get a $2 health buck. So, you know, those I think are just some opportunities that I'm sure many of you are probably aware of, but something that just immediately comes to my mind. And then, you know, I would say at Teens for Food Justice, you know, we are certainly doing what we can to monitor how the city implements the 10-year food plan. I think that a big effort of food organizations, food justice organizations is to be sure that the community engagement that they say is a value in the 10-year food plan is something that is really acted out. So, you know, if there's more conversation that you all want to have on that front, you know, be more than happy to have that conversation and potentially be able to connect y'all with any of the folks that I know, you know, are in those spaces.
So thank you for those thoughtful comments off the cuff. I think we need to go back a little to think about, we deal with schools and young people.
Sure.
So should we be advocating for more roof gardens, roof farms, other types of greenhouses in schoolyards, school garden? You know, what are the types of things that we can ask the city for in some of our requests? What do you see as the needs specific to our district?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, of course, we would say getting more more farms in more places where young people are, right? And I think that the opportunities like with hydroponics to connect that directly with STEM classes is certainly something that we have found valuable for our students. And working, at Urban Assembly Unison, there's a co-located elementary school. So giving students continuous opportunities to engage with urban agriculture, as that can also be a lens into health and wellness and personal health and all those things. So I think that with the 10-year food plan, there is momentum, there is support. So, and with Brooklyn Borough President Adams, of course, a big advocate for urban ag. So I would definitely say that those are great things to advocate for. And whatever we can do to like some of the more immediate concerns of food security. So just, I know like potentially with like PEBT, continuing to advocate for that to be an option for students something like that, for that program to maybe innovate and be something available to students.
Thank you. Yeah. Are there questions from my members? I don't want to continue this thread if some of my members have other questions.
No, just
Mr.
I've seen the work. Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say I've seen
go
the
ahead.
But
I've gotten to visit 2 farms in Bronx and here in Brooklyn, and it's just terrific work. So just wanted to say that.
So much.
Thank you. So we hope to have additional continued dialogue with Teens for Food Justice, and maybe next time have an actual young person present as well. We love to hear the voices of the young people. So thank you. I want to move along on my agenda, my committee's agenda. So please feel free to stay or leave, whatever you need to do. Okay. So for the chairperson's report, we did it a little differently. We engaged Brandon's committee idea about asthma. So I want to be very brief. I want to tell my committee that I'm told that the office is still working on getting the Zoom account. That seems to be an ongoing thing. I had promised you that we'd be having Zoom, but
I'd actually like to be I'd like to be a little more specific about that if I
Please.
could.
Yeah, thank you.
We have long ago completed all of the steps that we needed to do on our side. Unfortunately, the current status is that Zoom has not submitted the paperwork that they needed to submit to the city to be able to accept our particular forms of payment. So until Zoom corrects their state of arrears with the city, they are not able to accept our payment. So that is why we're stuck. And we will be stuck for an indeterminate amount of time. It's really in Zoom's court at this point.
Thank you for the clarification. And I know that other community boards do have Zoom and they like it. So hopefully we will get there too. Or we will be told to have meetings in big auditoriums. That's the other possibility. Okay. We did read today that the Summer Youth Employment Program, that's for our young people, will start up again. They're accepting applications, and they expect that 70,000 young people will be served. Do you have anything you can add, Nick, on this?
No, I don't. I'm not following it that closely.
Okay, I know in the past you were.
Yeah, my agency does. I just
Yeah, okay.
I don't lead it, so I'm not sure about the details.
Okay, thank you. Okay. There's a document called Planning Together that Taya has sent to us. Did people have an opportunity to look at it or at the summary? Are there any questions? We hope to have a speaker maybe at the full meeting, because some of the community boards have sent letters of approval or letters saying that they disagree with this approach. So I think we should have a voice, and some of our committees will have a conversation maybe before the speaker. I'm not quite sure how it will work, but people who, there's a large contingent of people in the city planners and city council people who feel we really need to marry the planning aspects, zoning aspects, and budget aspects into a cohesive plan. Because as we know from some of our experience, something can be approved and then there's no funding, or the budget's changed so much that what's approved and implemented is nothing like what was planned. So it kind of marries together some of these ideas. So I urge everybody to look at the documents that were sent, and maybe we can continue, we could have a conversation about it. Okay. Okay, so that was Chair's report. Is there other committee business? I know that in Community Forum, we have a few people who want to speak. But before we do that, is there committee business? Are there people that have other issues to bring up that we should be addressing, or information to share? No.
If I could, Chair Feibush, just a reminder that there are, it's hard to remember that these committees only meet 10 times per year. So just a reminder that there are only 3 meetings remaining before your summer recess. And then when you come back in September, you'll be headed straight into deliberations about what this committee wishes to request as their portion of the statement, district of needs and budget requests. We understand, the office understands that there has traditionally been a lot of disappointment and maybe low engagement in that process because the response from the city is not always as robust as we'd like. And we get an awful lot of sort of boilerplate answers about the agency will consider this request, etc. We have received feedback at different times, and I found it in our archives as well, which has been an experience for me. There are some specific ways in which the committees individually and the board as a whole could make their requests and their overall SDNBR more robust. Primary of which would be focusing the requests a little more specifically to the geographic bounds of the district rather than citywide requests, which require more coordination than is possible at a community board level. And also partnering with, indicating partnerships with other known organizations, again, in the geographic location of the district. So 2 great examples from the speakers tonight, right? The most recent was maybe a follow-up question that you'd like to ask with Renee, since I know Teens for Food Justice was a highly requested speaker this year. Maybe there could be a conversation with them about what are their funding goals and needs for the next year, and how might the district partner with them on hyper-local, geographically specific programs. Because then instead of putting in a request for more sort of blanket, more youth urban agriculture programs, it would be a very targeted ask for a specific dollar amount, for a specific geography, for a specific outcome. All that to say, there are only 3 more meetings. So maybe this is a good time to reflect back on the last 7 months of speakers and just consider, of all the speakers that have come and given time to this committee, which are the ones that you'd like to really push to partner with, and what work would you like to line up? What priorities would you like to line up for the office to work on to go deeper on research, data, etc. over those 2 months that you don't meet? because then I think the office can help you shape requests in September and October that might stand a better chance of getting a yes.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Much appreciated. Are there other matters for committee business? So hearing none, we'll move to community forum. Shaquana Boykin, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, you're pronouncing my name correct.
Okay, so I was asked to introduce you, and you had some information to share. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Sure. So sorry that I was late and I didn't get to hear the first hour, but I'm excited to be here. I might sound a little sick. I got my vaccine shot, so going through, the trials and tribulations of that. But I'm really excited to be here. And my only announcement is that I would love to get somebody's contact because I myself with Trellis, I'm not sure if Trellis, Zach Martin has ever came here. We are going to have a youth event. It's just going to be an hour and a half conversation with youth that we've worked with, and also inviting youth across Brooklyn, especially in our district, to just celebrate one another and make space for them. So the target is 14-year-olds up to 24. We have a few youth identified that will be doing a short talk about like photography, journalism, and some food work that they've been doing in the community. But I'm here to listen. You can always contact me, invite me to other meetings, and also would love to do something with the committee if that's what we could do. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask me. I will also leave my information inside the chat. I will leave my number. I'm really bad at answering the phone because I'm like doing 1,000 things. But if you text me, I definitely will call you back.
Thank you so much. Well, the first thing is to make sure that Taya has all of your information so that you can get notices of various meetings and have access to the calendar. It's a public calendar, but it's easier when she sends you the links and so on. We always meet the fourth Wednesday of the month. So you're welcome to come to all of those meetings. And if you want to be on the agenda, or if you want to make a quick announcement, anything like that is very possible. Can you send the office the information about the youth event, celebrating and making space, so that will it be virtual, or
it will be virtual?
Okay, so we can certainly try to attend. So we'd like to hear more about that.
Awesome.
And
I'm also work part-time with a youth policy organization called Spark Action. Also Forum for Youth Investment, that's our other organization. So we're having a conference, a national meeting. This is the 9th meeting. I can also send information. I know we do a lot of local things there, but the national work that I do come down to the state, right? Because what we do federally impacts our state. So this is a meeting that will convene with so many people who are working on policy in New York City around youth. And again, if we have untapped youth, that means we'll have untapped adults that if they didn't learn this when they were younger, they're not just going to wake up one day and be like, oh, I think I should be productive, right? So making sure that people are ready by 21. This conference is $200, but I have some waivers. So if anybody on the board would like to come, I have waivers. If there's any young people that you would like to invite to this day of action is great. My unit, I work in a policy unit, so myself and the people that I work with will have 75-minute session of talking about how to write policy. So a lot of times things that affect our young people is because we are not writing the policy that really will affect the change, right? So talking to young people about the policies and the issues, translating to that. We'll also have a lot of interactive breakout sessions around policy. So it'll be a great day of action. So I'm looking forward to 1 or 2 people coming and inviting some young people. And I'll leave my information.
Yeah, if you can leave the information with Taya. And Oscar, do you think that's something that some of your classmates, other students that you interact with would be interested in?
I'm not sure, but I'll certainly bring it up and invite them regardless.
Yeah, I know that your classmates are thinking about college now, and you have 1 foot out the door, so to speak. So I get that. Maybe some of the younger students in your school. Yeah.
I'll be happy to pass it along.
Great, thank you. Okay, and our representative from the Clinton Hill Library, I see Tracy Manchon. You were telling us last time about the outdoor space. Is that happening?
It is happening. We should be getting the tables and chairs sometime in April. And we are also waiting on having our Wi-Fi extended. If all goes well, also in April, we'll be part of REACH, which will have our Wi-Fi extended for 300 feet in all directions. So while you're using the tables and chairs, you can use the Wi-Fi. Although right now, if you sit on the benches outside of the building, you do pick up a signal. It's not that strong, but you will be able to pick it up. And we also got an outside book drop. So we now have a 24/7 book drop, and you can return books there all the time. We were closed for the past almost 2 weeks. And during the time that we were closed, the book drop was open so people could actually make returns. So we're really happy about getting the book drop again. And there's a possibility we may also be getting laptops. I'm not really sure about that, but that might be something that will be happening also. But we're definitely going to be part of the outdoor reading room. I'm going to put a link in the chat for an upcoming program geared for teens. It's a masterclass with a cartoonist, and we'll also have more programs for teens coming up in April, which will be putting links for that in the general board meeting later on in April. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other people with us tonight who would like to share information in the community forum? Any of your organizations and so on? No. Okay. So I'm going to ask for a motion. Mr. Sproul. Thank you very much. I didn't think we would get to this point. Our educators had a lot of information to share with us that we still have to digest. So it's good to see everyone, and see you in a few weeks at the full meeting, and have a good holiday. People whose holidays are coming up soon. So good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
And everyone.